Hi kids, how you been? I hope you all are fine. Okay, alright. In the last class, I told you to note down and write down in your English literature textbook the name of your favorite writer in English. Alright, so today we are going to start our lesson 3 that is titled as David Copperfield Goes to a New School. I will repeat the title. David Copperfield Goes to a New School. And this story tells us about a small boy of your age named as David. And this is one of the excerpts from David Copperfield that was written by Charles Dickens. Okay, and in this lesson 3, we are going to study the life of David Copperfield, a small boy. Okay, and this is one of the small story. Are you ready for the class? Alright, so today I am going to give you a short sum up of the story. All of you listen carefully. Okay, so already I told you that basically this story tells us about the life of a small boy named as David Copperfield. And here we can also see many other characters, Aunt Betsy and Mr. Dick and Headmaster, etc. Okay, alright. David Copperfield was a young boy of your age who lived with his aunt named as Miss Betsy. So Miss Betsy, aunt. Okay, and with Mr. Dick. Mr. Dick, and he was a mentally challenged one. Mentally challenged old man. And this Mr. Dick and this David Copperfield was living with Aunt Betsy. Okay, and David Copperfield and Mr. Dick was living with this Aunt Betsy. Actually, Aunt Betsy adopted David Copperfield after the death of his mother. And what about this Mr. Dick? As we all know that this Mr. Dick was a mentally challenged old man. And Aunt took care of this one. And when Aunt saw that his family was treating him so badly, this Mr. Dick's family was ill-treating him, then Aunt Betsy decided to take care of this man. And they all lived in a place called Dover. They all lived in a place called Dover that was 70 miles away from London. So all of them were living in London city. One day Aunt Betsy decided to send David to a new school, and that was situated in Canterbury. And the headmaster, Dr. Strong. Dr. Strong, that is the name of headmaster in that school that was situated in Canterbury. Okay, so David joined his new school, and Dr. Strong, who was a great man, treats the students with kindness and with love, and he never beat his students. And he also treated all his students equally without any partiality. On David's first day of school, Mr. Strong introduced him to whole school and to his class too. And the head boy of that school welcomed David to his desk. Thus, he started his life in that school that was in Canterbury. And he was really happy because the principal, the headmaster, Dr. Strong, that was a great man who considered this David Copperfield. And David stayed with Mr. Wickfield. Note down the word Wickfield. Okay, so he was manager of... So Mr. Wickfield was manager of Miss Betsy. So David stayed in his house, Mr. Wickfield's house, and he had a loving daughter named as Agnes. So David and Agnes studied together, and Agnes helped David to do all his homework. And Mr. Wickfield also so kind to David. In between, David also visited Aunt Betsy, and by seeing the improvement of David Copperfield, Aunt was really happy. And most of the Wednesdays, Mr. Dick visited his favorite kid David to Canterbury. And then thus started the friendship between Mr. Dick and Dr. Strong. Actually, who was Mr. Dick? He was a mentally challenged old man, and Dr. Strong, he was the principal of that school in Canterbury, and they become very much friends, and most of the Wednesdays they started talking. They became such a good friends. And Mr. Dick, actually he was a mentally challenged person, but he was very clever and intelligent, and on most of the windy days he used to make many kites, and he flew. In the windy days, he used to flew kites with the children and students in that school. And all the students liked Mr. Dick because he knew how to fly the kites properly. And this Dick also knew how to make boats and hat using the papers. And he also used to cut the fruits like apple, vegetables, everything. He used to cut in a strange manner. So all the students liked this Dick very much. And thus the friendship between Dr. Strong and Mr. Dick. Thus in this story we can see the friendship between Dr. Strong and Mr. Dick. And Mr. Dick had a great respect towards Dr. Strong because he was the headmaster of that school, that famous school. And Dr. Strong also liked this mentally challenged Mr. Dick very much. And whenever they are talking something, whenever they are in a conversation, this Dick always remove his hat from his head with respect. The principal Dr. Strong used to write something, and currently he was writing a book, and all the time Dr. Strong used to read that book to Mr. Dick. Actually, Mr. Dick don't know anything, but also he was ready to listen all the stories that was written by Dr. Strong. Okay, so this is the short sum up of the story. So we can see these characters, Miss Betsy, aunt, and Mr. Dick, who was a mentally challenged old man. Okay, old man. And what is the name of the headmaster? Dr. Strong. And manager, what's his name? Mr. Whitfield. And what's the name of his daughter? Agnes. Okay, Agnes, his daughter. Okay, and they lived. And in the beginning of the story, I told that this David Copperfield, Miss Betsy, and Mr. Dick, they lived in Dover in London. Yes, they lived in London, and Dover is a place in London that was 17 miles away. Okay, alright. So this is the short sum up of this story. Let's continue this story in the next class. That's all for today. Bye.